Well, I think there's a very strong argument to be made that the Daniel Penny prosecution is essentially a reactionary prosecution, right? It is a response to a public outcry from a progressive base in New York City that someone like Alvin Bragg feels the need to court. Um, I really do think that that's what it comes down to. I mean, it strikes, I think, a lot of New Yorkers as essentially a political prosecution of someone who, frankly, doesn't really pose a public safety threat. I mean, if you think about the rationales that, should be motivating the office of the Manhattan DA with respect to its limited resources and how they should be expended, you should be thinking about bringing cases against people who are likely to go and harm somebody else, right? Someone like Ramon Rivera, someone like the
Exactly.
individual who shot an NYPD officer in Queens the other day who was on lifetime parole and had racked up 7 arrests since being on lifetime parole. There's no real public safety rationale for going after and throwing the book at someone like Daniel Penny, who doesn't have a criminal history, who doesn't have a mental health disorder, who doesn't have a substance use disorder, who doesn't have any of the indications that would suggest that he poses a threat to the public, right? I mean, it's not like what happened between him and Jordan Neely was random. This was an interaction that was based on a very clear and present threat that Jordan Neely was posing to everyone on that train. I mean, I think, I'm not a practicing attorney. I'm a lawyer by training. But, to my mind, I mean, the most important piece of evidence there is that everyone who was in that subway car felt the same threat.
Yeah, they were
felt
terrified.
the same fear.
They were prosecution witnesses, and they took the stand to say they were terrified. You raise a good point. Daniel Penny wasn't a danger to other New Yorkers that day. You know who was a danger? Was Jordan Neely, who had previously assaulted 2 different women, one of them on the subway. There was an arrest warrant out for him at the time that he died. Then we have Ramon Rivera, another homeless man who was mentally ill, also with a long arrest record. And we have him going on the stabbing spree. He had 8 prior arrests and had just been released from jail a few weeks earlier, and he was literally walking down the street with a giant knife. Why was he... listen for a second to New York City Mayor Eric Adams, because he was frustrated too, talking about this.
Everybody said I was inhumane, that we just want to institutionalize people. Well, this is the result of that. This is the result of not taking actions and ignoring people who need help.
Mayor Adams has been urging state lawmakers to pass a bill called the Supportive Interventions Act, which would expand his authority to take homeless, mentally ill people off the streets against their will. Why is it so hard to get those people? We see them. I see them every day on the subway and on street corners. They're deeply disturbed, and they need help, even if they don't want it.
We all see them, right? I mean, and I do think that what we're facing here is, a situation in which we're being forced to come to terms with the fact that maybe it's not actually compassionate to allow people like Ramon Rivera and Jordan Neely to rot in public. Maybe it's not actually compassionate to essentially put them in situations in which we know they're not going to get the treatment that they need. I mean, I think, there's a bit of a parallel between the debate about, sort of mental health treatment and criminal justice in cities like New York. And it's very similar, right? I mean, a lot of the backlash to things like, mass incarceration and stop and frisk, really motivated a lot of people to walk away from the traditional institutions of law enforcement. And we saw the same thing with respect to deinstitutionalization, right? I mean, there was a case to be made that the mental health institutions and facilities in our country were not great. They were not run very well. That people were subjected to maltreatment, to neglect, to abuse. And that motivated the deinstitutionalization movement that has left us really holding the bag. One of the major problems with, even enacting new legislation that would broaden the authority of the city to compel people into mental health facilities against their will is that we have cut our capacity. The number of beds has shrunk. Exactly. And so, with that shrinking in the number of available beds, we find ourselves having to triage, much in the way that we have to triage in our criminal justice system, where resources are constrained and, our hands are essentially tied in a lot of ways. But these are policy choices.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact fact-driven, unbiased coverage.